know.
Joining us today to talk about the empty nest syndrome is Anna Prosson. Thank you for joining us today, Anna.
Thanks, Hannah.
Anna Prasa, excuse me.
Yes.
And you are a professional grief counselor for Arizona Center for Loss and Grief.
Correct.
So is it a normal reaction to feel sadness and maybe even depression when the kids go off to college or whatever their endeavors are after high school?
It really is. Even though we're happy for them to move forward in their life, it is a sadness because it's a change of our lives. And when our children change, we're needing to change too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the sadness comes in because many times we're lost.
Right. And I didn't even think about this, I feel so sad when I think of my daughter leaving in a couple years for college.
Right.
But what I didn't think about was how I reacted the first day she went off to kindergarten,
right,
and how that really is an empty nest syndrome as well. I was very tearful watching her walk into the classroom, saying my goodbyes, and leaving her in the hallway. I had such, tears were definitely falling down. How about you?
Right. Oh my gosh, Anna, I have to tell you, I have 8-year-old triplets, so I lost all 3 of mine all at once as far as an empty nester goes. I went from being married for so many years without kids, and you realize how much emphasis you put on your own life, and then all of a sudden how much it shifts.
Right.
Right.
And the day before they went for kindergarten, I was up pacing the hallways in my home till 4 o'clock in the morning, in tears, going, oh my gosh, the 2 boys were in one room, my daughter was by herself, I was a nervous wreck, are they going to get along, is everybody going to like each other, I hope the teacher's not a Gestapo, are they still going to be hugged, and is that normal?
Well, it's we have that natural protective instinct as mothers, we want to make sure they're safe, and when they're young, even when they're older, are they going to be safe? Are they going to need me? Or what's worse, they don't need me. I think what's worse when we see our children adapting quite well to their environment, and then what happens to us and our feelings.
I was so bad. There were probably like 20 moms in Nora's classroom the first day of school, and I did whatever I could to stay in there as long as I could to take pictures. They had like a boohoo breakfast for all the parents.
Cute. Nice.
To kind of get through this process of what we're talking about.
But Lisa, you say moms in the room.
Moms.
So do dads have a sadness or this type of reaction to the children leaving for kindergarten or off to college?
Well, I think if they're a Mr. Mom, and if they have that maternal role with the children, of course they do, because what is your biggest fear? You go home and nobody's there.
Yeah.
And it's quiet.
And
what do? There's nobody to play with, nobody to cook for.
Yeah.
There's nobody to take care of, no arguments to break up.
As much as we complain about it and say, oh my gosh, I'd love a weekend away, or, I can't wait for my girls' night out.
Until it comes.
Until it comes.
That's the truth, isn't it?
I'll never forget that day, too. I came home, I closed the door, the house, you could hear a pin drop. And I just sat there, and I looked at my husband, and I said, I don't know what to do with myself now. I honestly do not know what to do with myself. And so what I ended up doing was I went to the school and I got a job working at the school because I could at least be with the kids.
Right.
And I was their lunch lady in kindergarten because I thought, okay, well, I want to get to know the kids. And then I was still kind of hands-on but separated. Was that good to do?
Sometimes you have to look at that. Whose needs were you taking care of?
Probably mine.
Your needs or the child's needs. And many times when, mom's there, I can't be who I'm really wanting to be. And so we kind of impede our children's growth if we're hovering around them too much. And plus, look at your needs. Who are you? You're more than just a mother.
I know.
Anna, do you think it's going to be harder for this generation? We've been coined as the helicopter parents.
I was just going to say that.
We do everything for our children, more so than the other generations previous to us. Do you think we're going to have a harder time when our kids leave at 18 years old and leave the nest as opposed to other generations?
If you don't have a sense of identity, of personal identity, and you haven't cultivated that throughout your children's life, you probably will. But one of the important things to realize is that when our children leave for kindergarten or first grade, our parenting skills pretty much stay the same. But when it changes, when our children leave for college or they get married or they just leave to go for a job or they get their own apartment, they leave out of state, well, we can't treat our children as our adult children as if they were children. So we as parents are needing to change our ways of parenting. So we're needing to learn how to parent adult children.
So how do you do that? I know both of your two children?
Yes.
Both of your children left the nest.
Exactly.
How did you change your parenting style?
Well, I had to learn that like we all do. I was calling my son, and he was in L.A., just to give him his daily horoscope.
I love it.
I'm going to do that.
That's a great little way. I'm calling to check up on you. Are you okay?
He says,
you have 5 stars
I
today.
really don't care.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, she was out out of state to college. And if she didn't call me back within a couple days, I left a threatening voicemail. I'm calling the police.
Yeah.
Because if you're not calling me back, I know you're lying somewhere helpless in a gutter.
Oh, gosh.
She's fine. You know, the thing is that the more clingy we are as parents, the less our adult children are going to share their lives with us.
Yes. Oh,
and so, no matter how difficult it is, it's very rewarding to see your parents, your children succeed, because we have to be comfortable as parents and confident that we gave them the proper skills.
See, and I thought too, like when you said clinging, and we were talking about, how hands-on that we are in our kids' life, that I thought maybe the more that we were in our kids' life, that the more that they would share with us. But sometimes that could maybe hurt the relationship.
It does, yes.
Really?
The hardest thing, I think, to watch are adult children kind of fall and pick themselves up. When they're little, we can pick them up, we can hug them, kiss them, wash them off, and give them something good to eat, and laugh. But when they're adults, we have to watch them struggle. And it's important for us to just stand there and just be a support to them.
People that have two children that are different ages, not like Lisa's situation where she'll have three leaving the nest at one time. Lisa, I feel for you. That's going to be a challenging day, I would imagine.
Yes.
But mine are 5 years apart, so I've got one leaving, and then I thank goodness that I still have one that I'm going to be able to hover over for the next 5 years. But
hover.
Yes,
right, hover.
Because I do that. But is it, after the break, let's find out about this. Is it more challenging, or is it normal to experience empty nest syndrome? Will you still have one at home? So we'll find out about that question right after the break. So stay right there. Back with Anna.
Now that all of the children are growing up, then how do we spend?
Welcome back to the McMahon Group, everyone. I'm Lisa Schneider-Cipriano.
And I'm Angela Scott.
Okay, we have the answer to that question. Make the call. And it was this day in 1931, which was Anne Bancroft's birthday, who won the Academy Award for The Miracle Worker. The question was, in The Miracle Worker, it's a story about Helen Keller. Well, who played Helen? And the answer was Patty Duke. So Patty Duke is the answer to that question. And congratulations to Debbie Black. You won 1 month of free swim lessons to Aquatots, which we love Aquatots. And Aquatots is all about fun and safety, and it's just such a great program. So congratulations to you. This is a terrific prize.
Yes, absolutely, and especially a great place for children, teaching those children here in Arizona to swim.
Yes.
So we prevent those drownings that we want to do constantly.
Yes.
As we're talking about children, we are talking with Anna Prasa, and we're talking about the empty nest syndrome. Before we went to break, Anna, I asked you about, is it possible to experience empty nest syndrome when one leaves but you still have another one at home?
It's not as severe, but what we need to caution ourselves is putting so much attention and smothering the child that's at home.
Okay, yes, I could see how that could take place, because as I was talking during break with you, Anna, I think for me the idea of my 16-year-old leaving home here in 2 years, I had her very young. I had her at 22 years old, so I feel like a part of my growing up, honestly, at 22, I was still somewhat of a child, a kid, really.
Right.
Part of growing up was with her.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the idea of her leaving also takes a part of my identity away.
And so you're feeling a part of you is going as well.
Right.
And so it's good to focus on the child that remains at home, to have more closeness, because you're with two children, there's a lot to do. And if you have more than two children, there's even more. But focus on not just the child at home in a minimal way, but also start developing yourself.
Okay, let's
and
talk
other
about
talents
that.
and gifts and other desires that you have.
Some solutions that you can offer. I mean, what do you suggest? I mean, one thing I think was go get a job.
Get a job,
find
a
some
part-time
interest.
job, volunteer, go to school, learn about some latent talents that you might have. There's so many things out there. There's so much need out there, and it's just really a time of rediscovering.
Catch
who
up with
you
your
are.
friends again. I feel like everybody gets lost in the shuffle. You don't mean to lose contact with your friends, but all of a sudden, FCF, your family comes first, and you mean to call somebody back, and that day turns into a week turns into a month, and then you just forget.
And many a times where we think we're the only one that is experiencing the loss and the sadness and the grief. Well, if we share with our friends, maybe they're experiencing the same thing, or maybe they already have experienced it, and they can shed some light over this situation.
Anna, why do we hear a lot of times people decide to get divorced after the children leave the nest? Why is that?
Well, a lot of times the children distract the marriage and there's distract the relationship. So if we can't use the children as a buffer, well, there's just
What
two
can we
people, and and then they have to deal with their relationship issues, and either they become closer or the relationship falls apart.
Right, and if you are out there and you have children, you will most likely be experiencing or have experienced the empty nest syndrome. So make sure you tweet or Facebook us
Yes.
your experience. Give us your questions. How do you deal with it? What are your fears? Just send us a tweet or a Facebook, and we'll talk to Anna about that as well.
Anna, what about if our children are going off to the military? This you know, is your feeling? Do you feel? Is it different? Is it more of a? I know you feel sad if it's one thing if they're going off to school, but the military. I mean, this
well,
is.
yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, I would think it would be a whole different dynamic.
It definitely is, because we don't know what's
Safety.
going to happen to our children when they're in a foreign land with the entire culture is different, and it's just something that we're needing to just. I think prayer is a good thing to
Yeah.
and also talk with other parents that have their children in the military. And, you know, all we can do is hope for the best.
Okay.
So do you think it's healthier for people to have a part-time job while their kids are at home? Does this make this transition easier?
I don't think it makes it more difficult or easier. Sometimes they need to have a part-time job for financial reasons, but it's always good to have some type of personal interests aside from your children. So when your children do grow and do have a life of their own, that you do have something to go to yourself, and we always need to develop other aspects of ourselves. We can't just depend on our children to fulfill all of our needs.
It's interesting when I was reading about some of the solutions that you offer, it was, you know, get back in touch with your friends, lean on your friends, get the part-time job or volunteer. What else could I be doing as far as, you know, maybe, like I did go back to school when my kids went into school and took some classes that I always wanted to take. And I mean, obviously went back to work a little bit again, and it helps me fulfill my day. But is there anything else that you think that I would be lacking to kind of fill that void at this point?
As women get older, we have chemical changes, and it's
Yes.
good. And with these chemical changes, it affects our emotions. And it's good to go to the doctor and get our hormones checked.
Okay.
Because excessive
You mean this isn't
depression-
normal?
Because if we're having uncontrollable crying spells, if we're depressed, if we're staying at home, if we're isolating, we and that's not normal for us.
Yeah.
Right.
We want to check our chemistry.
Right.
And that's
so there's
one of the main
psychologists,
things.
psychiatrists, and support groups for that.
Yeah. You mean my
Exactly.
glass of wine isn't cutting it? Oh,
Or the glass, yeah. Exactly. Thank you
okay with friends.
Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you.
Up next, Lisa, Wendy, and Dave are talking about the idol in the. No, you're talking about wigs.
alopecia. And some good options.